It's a good AGam in Kansas morning. Good morning. Let's take a look and see what's coming up today.
First, Dr. Chris Blevins talks about the upcoming free castration event for horses at K-State. Next, Veronica Nigh updates us on the outlook for trade agreements, both old and new. And Dr. Glynn Tonsor discusses beef demand. Then Pat Ross and Kent Winter remind us how important it is for Kansas producers to get to know our state legislators. We'll end with some observations about what should be included in the new Farm Bill. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hello and welcome to Horsing Around. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Today, going to talk about a very exciting event that we're going to have come up here on April 14th and April 21st here this spring. It's free castration. So with that, we've partnered with the Unwanted Horse Coalition. It's a national organization that has made this event free. Free to castrate any stallion that's out there within the area that needs, maybe a person needs help, can't financially afford to castrate their animal. Well, with this organization partnered with Kansas State College of Veterinary Medicine, we've made this possible again on April 14th and April 21st. Now with that, you need to pre-register, and so you'll have to call the vet school large animal desk at 785-532-5700 and get on the list. There is some things that they need to make sure that they have. One is they have to be healthy, and both testicles need to be descended, and halter broke, preferably. With that, it's just a one-day event, so they just show up in the morning and pick up in the evening. And that should take care of what is going on. Now, why do we do this, and why is this organization sponsoring it? Well, with the Unwanted Horse Coalition, it goes in the confines of we have too many horses that maybe aren't getting taken care of across the nation. Even in the state of Kansas, we have about 75,000 horses in the census that was taken in 2012. And so with that, there's sure a lot that maybe potentially are intact and they want to gild at some point. So it's just trying to help regulate that of the population based on castration. So with this, and if you'd ever want to learn more or to donate to the national purpose, you can go to the unwantedhorsecoalition.org website and go to the Operation Gilding part and learn more, and maybe even donate if you potentially would like to for that. But teaching students here at the vet school and gilding horses for free within the region and within Kansas is a big deal, and we're very happy and pleased to have that happening here at Kansas State in April of this year. Again, if you have any questions or want to pre-register, just call the large animal desk and we'll get you kind of situated for that. The castration has been happening for over multiple years with the Unwanted Horse Coalition, where they've done over 1,500 castrations at 122 clinics across the nation in 31 states. So here in Kansas State, we're joining that team and we're on that force to try to make sure that we have more horses that are castrated that may be not getting castrated based on financial restraints. So again, learn more on their website, give us a call at the vet school, and we'll be able to help you at any point of that. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center, and we'll see you around.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family-owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard. Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop liquid crop nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on AGam in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas producers about the outlook there in Washington?
Sure. You know, the trade front has been a very interesting one recently. If I had been in Kansas a year ago, I would have been talking about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a trade agreement that we estimated would bring an increase to net farm income of $4.4 billion per year. It was a multi-country agreement. But on the 30th of January, the new administration officially posted notice that we were withdrawing from that agreement and that we would be pursuing a strategy of bilateral trade agreements. So maybe a free trade agreement with Japan or a free trade agreement with the UK rather than larger multilateral deals. So there's been a lot to react to. The administration has made clear that they intend to have good agreements, that those standards will apply for agreements going forward, and they'll also look back at agreements that we've already signed to try to see if they're achieving all of the goals that they had in mind. Oh, sitting and waiting is never the thing that we should do, especially on the trade front. While trade is incredibly important to U.S. agriculture, about 25% of our receipts come from international trade. But in the larger sense, ag exports only make up 7 to 10% of all U.S. exports. So it's incredibly important to us, but in a larger sense, we're a fairly small piece of that pie. So we need to make sure that our legislators, our senators know how important trade is, and that while we're certainly supportive of making sure trade agreements are good for all of the U.S. economy, we certainly don't want to be traded off against those other industries because trade's been good for us. I think a good example of that is NAFTA. There's been discussion that maybe a renegotiation of NAFTA would be a good idea. U.S. ag exports have quadrupled since NAFTA was implemented. So that's one of those examples of trade being really good for agriculture and that agreement having been good for agriculture, but maybe other segments of the economy feeling less comfortable with the agreement. So if we are in a situation where we renegotiate that agreement, we want to make sure that agriculture isn't any worse off than it was before that renegotiation occurred. Please go to Kansas Farm Bureau's website, to American Farm Bureau's website. We're very conscious of keeping information up to date. Reach out to your senators and tell them that it's important so that we can start talking about trade going forward and not just looking back.
Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego is driven by the spirit of American ingenuity. Come in for a new Chevrolet car, truck, or SUV. If we don't have exactly what you want, we'll find it for you. And we also have a great selection of used cars. We make sure you have an easy, fun, and transparent sales experience that saves you time and money. But if you want high-pressure salesmen and hours spent in the finance office, you'll just have to go elsewhere. Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're making car buying great again.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
This segment brought to you by SureCrop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
The main purpose of this study was to explore the feasibility of refining our ability to monitor beef demand. Currently, myself and some others around the country quarterly put out a very aggregated beef demand measurement. So what I mean by that is we treat all beef the same, whether it went through food service or grocery stores, whether it was loin or ground. It was very, very aggregated monitoring that we put out on our agmanager.info website, for example. But some of the concerns with that is it's quarterly, so it's slow in coming. It's aggregated nationally, so we can't break it apart by region as well as market channel. And at the end of the day, we need more refined demand measurement that is a little more product level, hopefully a little more region specific, and ideally split by market channel, right? Food service versus grocery store, as opposed to very aggregated. Beef demand itself tells us how the consumer views our products. And ultimately, every dollar that retailers all the way down to seed stock producers have comes from consumers. It gets passed through in different ways, and understanding the demand from the end consumer is actually very, very essential. Why more refined demand insight is there's different sectors of the industry that are obviously focused on one thing. If you're a grocery store, you don't care as much about what's going on through restaurants and vice versa. If you are a target ground beef processor, you're a lot more interested in ground beef demand than you are loin demand. So as we can refine the insights, you target information for those different players in the industry, and that's very valuable for them. Collectively for producers, the net of that is what's important. So if I raise a calf and sell it to somebody else, ultimately the value of all the products that come off that carcass later down the chain is why my 550-pound calf is worth what it is. And if I understand collectively that it's ground beef demand that's the growth area, we can learn from that and play on that and maybe allocate some more resources to improve loin demand, round demand, rib demand, whatever that might be. That if you refine the understanding of why the public does or doesn't like, it used to be your beef product, but more refined, the product that you're talking about or the one you merchandise, we can increase the value of all our products in the entire industry. So our ultimate recommendation, and therefore hope for the industry, would be that there is ongoing support for these retail beef demand indices that we outline here. And the core reason for that is refined and more frequently updated beef demand information is essential to guiding decision making. And hopefully most producers increasingly recognize the beef demand, not just cattle supply, drives the prices they observe. And the more we can refinely and more quickly understand that, the more valuable everybody in the industry can understand what's going on in their very, very complex industry. It gets more complex every day. And if we can have more of these indices that make sense be available, that only helps that decision.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except for when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulders sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. And I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio and gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
It's always a pleasure to be here at the breakfast for the legislators here in Topeka. As I understand, it's the 22nd year, and this is the year that the Kansas corn producers are in charge of the pancake feed. So it's always a pleasure to sit down and meet with some of these legislators and see what their problems are and tell them what we think some of our problems are out on the farm.
I think it's very important that those in production agriculture find a way to stay connected with our state legislators. We've got a story to tell, and if we don't tell it correctly the first time, why somebody might not get it right. So I think it's very important to make use of these opportunities to get acquainted with state legislators from around the state and find a way to maintain those connections.
The tax deal is probably the number one concern that's facing the legislators and also affects we on the farm too. We've appreciated, in some respects, probably not paying as much income tax or maybe even no state income tax, but we also realize that got to make that up somewhere, and it's probably going to affect us on property taxes or perhaps on some tax exemptions that we've benefited from on equipment purchases over the years. So that's probably the number one issue affecting us here in the state this year.
So much of our state legislature comes from areas out of urban centers, urban counties. I know Sedgwick County, my home county, has 33 state representatives and state senators involved up here in Topeka. I think Johnson County might have a similar number. You add in another county such as Shawnee, and you're talking very close to half of the state legislators being represented by 3 counties. So we are excited to have this opportunity today to get acquainted with these folks and share our views on some issues. And you know, a lot of things we're not that far apart. We share a lot of things in common. We all eat. We all have to eat. And the agricultural producers in this state are raising the food. So we want to stay connected with these folks and maintain these relationships, because down the road there might come an issue where we have to go into their offices and state our case and make a claim for how we would like them to vote on a particular issue.
We do have a lobbyist that's represent us here at the State House and give us weekly updates on what's taking place. We also have people from our staff that are monitoring here at the State House on a daily basis. You know, there's so many new legislators here in Topeka this year that it's been maybe a little slower process going on, because it's a learning process for those new legislators, and we just hope that there's some good legislation that ends up coming out of there.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide, presented by Lucas Oil, featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV, the all-new Better Horses Network.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Well, it was an honor to be invited to be here at the Kansas Commodity Classic. It's my first time at the event. I was very pleased. I had a packed house, and I had the opportunity to sit on a panel with sorghum and corn and talk about the importance of the Farm Bill and how important it's going to be that we work not only as individual commodity groups coming up with our Farm Bill principles and priorities, but also how we need to be working together in Washington, D.C., whether it be for all the commodity groups and the conservation groups, the nutrition groups, so that we can get a comprehensive Farm Bill done before it expires on September 30th of 2018. It'd even be better if we could get it done before that, but when you look at the schedule of things that have to be done, we've got a new administration which adds more pressure onto especially the Senate schedule for approval of undersecretaries and of course like the Secretary of Ag and things like that. But working together to bring this Farm Bill to a close and making sure that we've got everything we need in there for Title I, conservation, and crop insurance.
I think a lot of the questions, and I really appreciate it, is the current political climate in Washington. Obviously, with an administration change, we're looking forward to new approaches and new ways to doing things. We're also trying to get feedback and a feel for what their approach and what their ideas that they're wanting to accomplish there. It's also very good today to hear them talk a lot about the commodities working together within the Farm Bill as we do look at it, and also the nutrition side of it. I think that's a story that we all realize, but I think they did a very good job today of articulating it.
Well, a lot of people don't know, and I think it's a statistic that we need to be demonstrating more, that it's not only 1 in 6 in urban areas that qualify for some type of food assistance, it's also 1 in 6 in rural areas. And a lot of people don't know that statistic, which that means that there's probably somebody in your church, there's definitely someone in your grocery store, there are definitely people in your small rural town that are using some type of nutritional assistance, predominantly probably from the Farm Bill. And when you look at the U.S. Census data, there's only 41 districts in the United States in the House of Representatives that can be actually kind of classified as rural. And it takes 218 votes to pass a Farm Bill. And so without the nutrition community feeling that they've gotten everything they need in the Farm Bill, there is no way for us to pass a Farm Bill out of the House of Representatives and the Senate at the same time to get it to the President to be signed into law. So the relationship between the farm side and the conservation side of the Farm Bill and the nutrition side is an extremely important relationship that we need to make sure that we maintain, if not make better.
Especially in my area, in the western part of the state, where when we do get hit by a drought, that suddenly there is just not simply income on these operations out there, and without that crop insurance part of the Farm Bill, that money to be able to pay the bills and to keep your operation afloat for the next year becomes very critical to these businesses, because truly what I have observed within my own community is they simply are staying afloat till the next year too. There's an example given today, and I thought it was just an absolutely apt example by one of our panelists up front there, that because people will sometimes make the comment that are not knowledgeable, well, the government does help pay my car insurance. And the comment that was made today on the panel I thought was very apropos is the aspect, yes, but on the other hand, not all of Chicago cars wreck at the same time. And that very well can happen within an ag community, is you can have an entire region or even state or beyond, multi-state area that gets hit by devastating environment things that happen to them, whether it's a hailstorm or drought or whatever, floods that can really devastate them. And nobody can handle that type of crop insurance other than the federal government. They're in the best position to handle it, and they can buffer that. And so I think that's a very good message we can take out there to those people, that our U.S. government is the one best position to handle that, and truly it's in the nation's best interest, as was mentioned by a couple of people out there in the audience today, that it is in the nation's best interest to have that safe food supply.
I can't emphasize this enough, but when we send out an action alert from the National Association of Wheat Growers to you as the member, it is vitally important that you contact your congressman and senator with whatever the issue may be. Maybe it's maybe we think that the conservation title is not getting enough attention. Maybe it's because ARC and PLC are not having enough money put into them. Maybe it's we need them to go talk to another member of Congress who is maybe an urban member, and we know that they've got a good relationship with them. but that farmer and rancher constituent going to their congressman and senator has a lot more influence than your DC representatives. Now, we're not trying to talk ourselves out of jobs here, but you do need someone in Washington to keep an eye on everything, and we do go and carry your message into the congressmen and to the senators, but you as the farmer and rancher, as a constituent, hold the most power with that member.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.